Okay, this is part 4 of chapter 4. Now in part 3, we talked about semantic meaning. And semantic meaning is just meaning that's derived from the words themselves and how they're arranged into sentences. So how can we improve our semantics? So first, you want to use very specific language. In the example that we had before, you could call this creature an animal, or a mammal, or a dog, or a poodle. A poodle is very concrete. You want to use familiar language. You have to be conscious and aware of different cultures and co-cultures, and you want to use language that they will understand. You also want to use descriptive details and examples and demonstrate linguistic sensitivity. So what do we mean by linguistic sensitivity? Well, it's inclusive language. So rather than referring to someone as a policeman or a fireman, it's a police officer or a firefighter. So without throwing in gender references, that's linguistic sensitivity. So when we say talk about familiar language, I'm going to show a video. Just click on this and see if I can get this to work.
We talked about Joe Biden and his no malarkey bus tour, which, unless you're over the age of 80, is a term you've definitely had to Google. For more on this, we turn to our very own Michael Costa, everybody, who's actually in Iowa, following the no malarkey bus tour. Michael, you're on the road with the bus. Doesn't the slogan, no malarkey, make Biden seem a little dated and out of touch? That's a load of horse feathers, Trevor. That slogan is the cat's pajamas, see? Anyone who says different is just screwy in the noodle. Yeah. Michael, why are you talking like that? Yeah, I have to, Trevor. Yeah. Everyone with the no malarkey bus is required to talk old-timey, you get me? So either get on the trolley or Big Joe's gonna take you out back behind Bell's Soda Shop and give you the old 1-2, buckle my shoe. What does that even mean? I don't know, maybe it's a sex thing? Okay, Costa, but why is Joe Biden doing this? Old-timey slang isn't going to connect with young voters. Oh, hooey, Trevor. Sounds to me like you hopped up on the poon juice, the giggle sauce, Mike's Hard Lemonade. I don't think that last one was an old... Anyway, you know what, forget it. Costa, okay, what if Joe's strategy of old-time real guy doesn't work out? What are you, nutty? These Biden guys ain't no palookas. If old-timey slang don't work, they'll just go further back in time. Forsooth, mayhaps the language of the bard shall catapult Lord Biden to Columbia's bad district. Dost thou comprehend the rules, or doth it not pass through the dark skin of a Moor? I'm sorry, did you just say I can't understand politics because I'm black? It's not me, it's my character. Okay, Michael, well, my character is going to cut your Christmas bonus this year. That's what's going to happen. Ah, shucks, boss. All this old talk got my head a little topsy-turvy. I didn't mean nothing by it. You know what? That's just a bunch of malarkey. Get out of here, you rapscallion. Cut the cost, everyone.
Okay, so in that example, Biden and his team were not using language that was familiar to young voters. That was the point they were making. And then, of course, and one of the last things that the news reporter guy said certainly wasn't using or demonstrating linguistic sensitivity. So not only does linguistic sensitivity require you to change policeman to a police officer, but you have to use words that are inclusive and words that don't only apply to like one race, for example. Okay. Now, what are pragmatics? Semantics is about the words, what words mean. Pragmatics is about what people mean. So the pragmatic meaning is understanding a message related to, the conversational context of it. A speech act is an utterance of a verbal message by a speaker and what it implies about how the listener should respond. So take a look at pages 74 and 75. So these are some guidelines for being pragmatic, about what you mean. So first of all, tell the truth. Provide the right amount of information. Don't provide too little and don't go on and on and on and on. Just provide the right amount of information. And try to be careful and relate what you say to the topic. If you're going to violate a guideline, acknowledge it and assume the best first. Okay, sociolinguistics. So we have idioms, and an idiom is an expression whose meanings are different from the literal meaning associated with the words used in them. For example, if I tell you to cross your fingers, what do I mean? I don't, really mean that you should be crossing your fingers. What I mean is, I'm going to wish you good luck. If I said, well, that fell on deaf ears, were they really deaf? No, it means that people aren't going to be listening to it. If you say, well, they had a change of heart. Well, did they have a heart transplant? No, they didn't have a heart transplant. A change of heart just means they changed their mind. So that's what an idiom is, and you can probably think of another dozen of them. A direct verbal style is language that is very clear and states the speaker's intention in a very straightforward and unambiguous way. An indirect verbal style is language that masks the speaker's true intentions in a roundabout and ambiguous way. Okay, so how do you improve sociolinguistic understanding? First, you have to develop cultural competence. The more you learn about other cultures and co-cultures, the better you will be at conveying your message. Practice mindfulness. It's the practice of paying attention to what's happening at any given moment in a conversation. So if you said something that they don't seem to be getting, pay attention to how they're reacting. And then finally, respect and adapt your sociolinguistic practices of others. Respect others and adapt yours to them. Okay, there are some skill building activities you will find on page 81, and I encourage you to go through those. They're rewriting sentences. Let me pull that up real quick. Sorry, I should have had that handy. So, yeah, for example, if you look at on page 81, the skill building activity, it says reword the following messages using more specific, concrete, and familiar words. So the first example is, that I really love baseball. Well, I'm practicing a lot because I'm hoping to get a tryout with the pros. So how could you reword that to be more specific? So you might say, because of my love for baseball, I'm practicing batting and throwing the ball, which I will need if I want to earn a tryout with a professional team. So that's just, a lot more concrete and specific. So I encourage you to go through those skill building activities to improve your language skills. And that is the end of this part, the end of chapter 4. Thanks.